They say riding a bike is something that you never forget. The balance, the rhythm, the push of the pedal, it's etched into you, even after years of not touching the handlebars. But what about painting? Do you ever really forget how to paint? Or does it just wait for you, patiently, like a bicycle in the garage? Maybe a little rusty, a little dusty, but still ready to roll the moment you climb on? Well, I found myself asking that question recently. See, I actually stopped painting with gouache for a little while. Not painting altogether. I was still dabbling, experimenting, having little art affairs with other mediums, oils, pastels, watercolours, colouring supplies, you name it. But gouache, the medium that I used to love, was just sitting there, untouched. When I finally picked it back up again, it was like my hand had completely forgotten what to do. So, I thought I'd start simple. That's always the advice, right? Start with something easy. So I searched for a little food painting challenge prompt and found this on Instagram. I'll leave the Instagram channel in the description below for you to go and check out. Just a couple of eggs on a sink. Simple, classic, foolproof. Or so I thought. Turns out that eggs are not so simple at all. They're round, but not perfectly round. They're smooth, but somehow still have texture. And once you try to put them into perspective, sitting on a shiny sink, it becomes this optical illusion nightmare. I thought, great. I chose eggs. I'm about to be defeated by breakfast. Here's the thing. I don't actually think it was the painting part that was the real issue. It started earlier with the fundamentals, and I dread saying this because I always used to think that the fundamentals didn't matter. The sketch itself. I kept erasing, redrawing, second guessing. If you look closely at the page, you can see all these faint, ghostly little lines underneath, evidence of my hesitation. And then came the brush. The brush felt wrong in my hand, almost like it didn't belong to me. The colours looked off, muted in the wrong places, too bold in the others, streaky, watery, too opaque. And at that moment I thought to myself, have I actually forgotten how to paint? It's a scary thought though, isn't it? To lose something that once felt natural, even effortless. But then something small happened. As I kept going, my wrist began to remember the familiar arc of motion. My hand remembered the pressure, the way the brush should lift and press. My eyes remembered how to look for light and shadow, how to balance warm against cool, how to search for rhythm in colour. It didn't all come rushing back like a flood. No, it was slower than that. More like a trickle at first. But it came. And I realised something. Relearning isn't about becoming who you used to be. It's about meeting yourself where you are now and growing from there. You don't step on a bike after 10 years and instantly win Tour de France. You wobble, you overcorrect, maybe you even fall once or twice. But you get better with each try, and with painting, it's the same. Here's what I learned with this awkward little eggs on a sink project. First, fundamentals matter. If the sketch is shaky, the whole painting will feel off. That's not a failure. It's a reminder to slow down and rebuild the basics. Second, tools feel strange when you haven't used them in a while. The brush, the paint, the paper, they don't bend to your will right away. But like any tool, the more you use it, the more it becomes an extension of your hand. And third, self-doubt is normal. That nagging voice that says you've lost it or you're not good enough. It shows up for everyone. The trick is to keep painting anyway, no matter what that voice said. Now let me tell you about my son's reaction. I showed him the finished painting, full of eggs and sink reflections, and he just stared at it. Then he said, "What's that supposed to be?" So I explained, eggs on a sink. And then he went, "Oh yeah, it doesn't really look like that. It's not that great." Brutal honesty. Kids are good at that. But I actually laughed because he wasn't wrong. So this painting, was it a success or a failure? Both. A success because I actually did it. I got back on the bike. A failure because, well, my eggs weren't exactly edible looking. But failure is part of success. It's the wobble before the balance, the scraped knee before the smooth ride. The moment I thought about it, the more the bike metaphor made sense. Painting again after a break is like riding uphill on a bike you haven't touched in years. The gears are stiff, your legs burn, you're sweating way too much for the pace you're keeping, but you keep pedalling and slowly your muscles adjust. Your breathing finds a rhythm and eventually you crest that hill and coast for a while and suddenly it feels easy again. Painting has that same curve. The more I practice, the more the gears start to shift smoothly again. So, if you're watching this and you've lost your painting mojo, or you're picking up the brush for the first time in ages, let me just say, yes, it will feel awkward. Yes, you'll doubt yourself. Yes, you'll probably produce something you're embarrassed to show anyone. But that's okay. That's not failure. That's the warm-up. And every wobble, every mistake, every what even is that painting, it's all progress. My eggs on the sink, they're my benchmark. Not perfect, not even close. But they mark the place where I started again. And when I paint this scene again, and I will, maybe my son will actually recognise it next time. But until then, I'll keep pedaling, one brushstroke at a time, because painting, like riding a bike, is never truly forgotten. It only waits for you to begin again. So, if you've been thinking about painting again, but you've been afraid of messing up, consider this sign for you to just start again. Pick up the brush, paint something ugly, paint something confusing. Paint eggs that don't look like eggs. Because the only way to find your balance again is to ride. And trust me, your colours will steady you. Your strokes will carry you forward. Thanks for riding with me today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.